and that's Professor James Smalls, FBA Disrespect, and that's a bunch of nonsense. I think Professor James Smalls, not I think I know, he was calling us, cowards, for not wanting to identify as Africans, saying that we were coming at, Africans unjustly, this, that, and the other, while turning a blind eye to all of the damn, tethers that come over here to our homeland, America, with this anti-FBA disrespect. And that's a bunch of nonsense, you know what I mean? Because that's the mindset of, the majority of these Pan-Africanists, they sit up and put the capes on for Africa and the Caribbean, while trying to put down FBA society. And damn that, I think Professor James Smalls, even though he's an older elder of the community, he was wrong and out of pocket on this. So I'm going to call a spade, because he's sitting up there trying to call out FBAs, for disrespect, and we ain't going to other people's countries and undermining them and, getting in political office saying they don't deserve reparations, what they going to spend it on, that they lazy, and calling them Akadas, this, that, and the other. We ain't doing that. If we go over to other people's country with the mindset that these tethers come over here with, we FBAs would be stoned to death. And furthermore, Pan-Africanism been around so long and it's gotten our people nowhere. It was a strategy, you know what I mean? And that strategy ain't working no more, and we were the only people as foundational Black Americans practicing, Pan-Africanism, for the most part, Africans on the continent, they don't even know what Pan-Africanism is, and Pan-Africanism has gotten us nowhere. We were the only people propping up and lifting up Africa. But when we seen that ain't working out, it's time to pivot to lineage-based strategy. And through this lineage-based strategy, the plan B, we getting further with that than we ever gotten with Pan-Africanism, in the words of our brother Afro Elite, because he's the one, shout out to him, that brought this to my attention. So I decided to speak on it, with Professor James Smalls, jumping out there with this FBA disrespect, you know what I mean? Because I was one time, just for example, I was one time in a store and I had, I was never a Pan-Africanist, but, I had the red, black, and green beads on with the unk on it, and I used to wear that in some of my older videos. But, African Cat asked me what it means, and I started explaining to him, what it means. And he didn't even know what Pan-Africanism means. So it shows you that we FBAs were the only ones propping up some Pan-Africanism, you know what I mean? And trying to have global Black unity. These people ain't, having global Black unity, and we just submitting and calling ourselves some generic Africans, which we ain't. That erases our, distinct ethnic groups that was forged over here on American soil, which is foundational Black Americans. See, we're just supposed to be some, vague, Africans, to where though people could come over here from the continent and the Caribbean, and undermine us, and exploit us without giving a damn thing in return. And damn that, Pan-Africanism has gone nowhere. It's a hamster wheel that, just got you running around in circles, without really making no positive strides and momentum, so damn that, them days is over. Lineage-based, is here to stay. We looking out for people based on lineage first and foremost. And, anyone that don't like that, I'm going to try to be respectful about it, but the hell with them, because lineage-based is the new wave, and that's what we're going to keep gearing things towards, lineage-based, because that Pan-Africanism thing has gotten us nowhere, you know what I mean? And Professor James Smalls want to try to sit up and call us, cowards for not wanting to identify with Africans. Africans on the continent don't want to even identify with damn Africa. That's why they fleeing up over here. And we ain't some generic Africans. Why is everyone expected, why are we as foundational Black Americans rather expected to call ourselves, African, and, other groups of people have their own lineages as well. A Jamaican got their own lineage. No one sits up and makes a big hissy fit about it. A Nigerian got their own lineage. No one sits up and makes a big hissy fit. That's because they want to exploit us as foundational Black Americans and erase us. And, they want to, piggyback off of our achievements and success without giving a damn thing in return. And damn that, and damn anyone, coming with that narrative, you know what I mean? Because that narrative getting shut down, Pan-Africanism died. It's a dead brand, and we on the strategy B, and through strategy B, which is looking out for lineage first and foremost, we getting further than what we ever been with the damn Pan-Africanism thing. Mark Curry, with all due respect, Professor, but Jason Black said that you gotta look out for these old ninjas that's who he's referring to. Salute to my brother Mark Curry. Yeah, you know, because Pan-Africanism, if it would have done something, it would have done something. It was just a strategy, you know, for us to get our leg up, you know, and it hadn't worked. It hadn't worked in how many years, you know, and switch it to this lineage-based thing, you know, now things is getting done. We got the talks of reparations being in the public lexicon, you know, you name it, you know, and it's all through lineage-based because the power ain't, you know, erasing yourself as an ethnic group. You know, that's what these good folks have said that they want us to do, erase ourselves, you know, and identify with Africa, you know, and damn that, you know, we got contributions, fly stuff our ancestors did over here on American soil, and we just supposed to deny that and pick up some African identity, you know. Ain't nobody in our families as foundational Black Americans been in Africa, you know, for hundreds of years. We had an ethnogenesis. That's why, you know, and we got, you know, indigenous, Aboriginal in the lineage as well. You know, the Aboriginal and the Africans that was brought over here, we formed a new ethnic group, you know, which is foundational Black Americans on this soil, you know. So I ain't negating my ancestors' contributions on American soil to pick up some, you know, African identity, because that's erasure, you know what I mean? And ain't no one else, you know, being forced to, you know, they got a problem with, you know, they don't got a problem with them, you know, recognizing their lineage. Why the hell do they, you know, got a problem with us foundational Black Americans, you know? Like I said, everyone gets to be, you know, their own lineage. But when it comes to us, we supposed to, you know, be Africans to where though people could come over here and erase us and, you know, piggyback off of our achievements and get benefits and aids and things like that that should be going to FBAs. And damn that. So Professor James Smalls was out of pocket, and we're going to get into it. Fair use.
Them or their concept or their attack against African peoples or the attack against Pan.
Let me play that from the beginning.
I'm not FBA. Do not support them or their concept or their attack against African peoples or the attack against Pan-Africanism, which shows a lot of ignorance and misunderstanding.
First of all, you know, he is a foundational Black American, you know what I mean? Professor James Smalls is of the lineage, you know, but Professor James Smalls, you know, he's out of pocket on this because Professor James Smalls, you know, I believe he's speaking this way because he got some financial things tied up in Africa to where though he got to, you know, he don't got to, but, you know, he's speaking like this because he got some financial dealings with Africa, you know what I mean? And FBAs, you know, he's talking about he don't support the attack on African peoples, you know. What about these people's attacking vitriol for us and coming to America, you know, with their anti-FBA disposition? You know, we can't go to someone else's homeland and, you know, get in political office and tell them, you know, they don't deserve no reparations, undermine them, you know, and attack them and, you know, say things like that about their people because they have stoned us to death over there in them other countries. So, you know, damn that. And that's typically the mindset I see, you know, coming from these Pan-Africanists, you know, Dr. Umar included, you know, and a lot of other ones as well. You know, they want to sit up here and, you know, let the continent of Africa and the Caribbean off the hook while, you know, pointing the finger at foundational Black Americans. Damn that narrative.
I am an African. And if someone wants to clip that little 2 minutes to try to create a critical negative, let those same person look at the other 100 plus videos that I have.
And he's talking about a video where he was talking up in New York on somewhere, I think it was in Harlem or somewhere, talking about, you know, the tethers coming over here and they're brainwashed. They've been psychologically defeated and stuff like this, you know. So he's talking in response to that, but he's out of pocket on this one. You know what I mean? And, you know, it's time to switch gears, you know, and that Pan-Africanism is a dead brand. And I don't give a damn, you know, what he say, with all due respect. You know, we ain't going to stop representing the lineage, and them wheels ain't going to stop moving for anyone or anybody. You know, what's being done now through advocating for the lineage ain't going to be undone. We're going to get what's rightfully owed to us as foundational Black Americans, and we ain't going to be stopped. You know what I mean? Because Pan-Africanism, like I said, it's a hamster wheel that you just running in place, not getting nowhere, because you know, it erases us, you know, ethnically, and the things that we've done over here on American soil, you know, and wants us to pick up some vague, you know, Pan-Africanism and pick up the continent of Africa. You know, damn that.
On the
yeah, James, but not any of those videos have anything.
Yeah, but family, I'm gonna get to, it's more of this video. I'm gonna play it on Brother Afro Elite's channel, because I don't know for the life of me. I keep finding them, but they're all chopped up. You know, I can't find it, you know, in its full form. And he got a good bulk of the video, so hopefully I don't get hit with copyrights, you know, from this. But I'm gonna play it from his channel. Shout out to Brother Afro Elite.
By everyone. To where it is now. To where it is now.
hotel.
With that accent being all. Let's see, okay. Now this is signed in. Now we're all signed in here. Hold on. Now I'm pulling it up. Here we go. Get this off the screen. Here we go. It's been a long time, but we're going to get it done tonight. I don't care how long it take me. Okay, because now they can't sign me out like they were doing. Okay, here we go.
But I want to make it clear to people in the world, I'm an African. When I say identify myself racially, I'm an African. African American is an ethnic identity that has to do with where I live. America is a geopolitical.
The problem with this whole thing is, you know, why ain't everyone else required to call themselves, you know, African? Why is it cool for Dominicans to have their lineage, Puerto Ricans to have their lineage, you know, Nigerians to have their lineage? Because they want to erase us as foundational Black Americans and our contributions by, you know, claiming some vague, you know, Africanists, you know, and damn that, you know. My ancestors did fly things here on American soil and was responsible for building America. So I'm not going to negate that in favor of, you know, picking up some vague African identity, you know, and damn anyone trying to push that narrative. Because like I said, Professor James Smalls got financial dealings over there on the continent. Because I remember one video where though he was talking about a hotel or something he got some money invested in or something like that. So yeah, he got vested interest over there, you know. So damn that, you know, we pushing this FBA lineage-based from here on out, and it is what it is, you know.
Political place. It's not a race. Africa is my race. Africa is my genesis. Africa is my culture. And I want to make it clear, I am not ADOS.
First off, even the term African American, notice that we're retiring that term because you.
African American is a dead brand, you know, it's too vague, you know. How Brother Afro Elite is saying that's a dead brand, you know what I mean? Because anybody is African American, you know what I mean? Elon Musk is an African American. Anyone coming over here from the continent is an African American. We're foundational Black Americans, you know. It's a more tighter term, and that's why everybody's upset with the term FBA, because they can't flip it and make it to be something that they want it to be, you know. And it represents a specific lineage of people, because we're not just gonna sit up here, you know, and let ourselves be erased as an ethnic group, you know what I mean? Because our ancestors demand justice, and you know, we need tangibles allocated to foundational Black Americans, you know, and picking up some vague, you know, African identity that undermines us in so many ways, you know, and it's a slap in our face to our FBA ancestors that paved the way over here on American soil by, you know, turning a blind eye to them and trying to, you know, pick up some vague people over there in Africa, and none of any of our foundational Black American ancestors have been in Africa for hundreds of years. We had an ethnogenesis, and I keep on emphasizing the ethnogenesis.
You have people like Myron Gaines, the one who just called us monkeys. Myron Gaines calls himself an African American.
Shout out to my brother
You have
Wells,
people who are first generation immigrants coming over here saying, well, I am African and I'm an American citizen, so I'm an African American. Obama sitting up there calling himself an African American. So yes, this is why we retired that.
Support them or their concept. I'm not FBA. Do not support them or their concept or their attack against African peoples or the attack against.
And we ain't really attacking nobody. Folks come over here, they attack us, you know, sit in political office and say, well, we don't need this, that, or the third, and try to, you know, generalize the history of America to make it as if America was built by some damn, you know, immigrants, which it wasn't. You know, it was built by the hard work and, you know, forced labor of my foundational Black American ancestors. And we won't be erased, you know. And Professor Smalls just got the cape on, you know, for Africa because he got some financial interest over there. You know what I mean? And, you know, while turning a blind eye, you know, to the mistreatment that these folks come over here and display the FBAs. You know what I mean? They always, the majority of these Pan-Africanism cats, you know, they only want to address, you know, what's going on in FBA society while letting folks in the Caribbean and Africa off the hook. Damn, nah.
Against Pan-Africanism, which shows a lot of ignorance and misunderstanding. I'm an African. And if someone wants to clip that little 2 minutes.
Well, you be African or whatever you want to be, Professor James Smalls, but over here we standing on this lineage business all day, every day.
It's to try to create a...
Because if Pan-Africanism could have gotten our people to, you know, where they need to be at as foundational Black Americans, getting our leg up, it would have been done it. You know, we tried it. It wasn't working. Now we're shifting to plan B, which is lineage-based, picking up the soil.
Critical negative. Let those same person look at the other 100 plus videos that I have on the YouTube. And there's a couple of thousand more videos if you want to really go looking, and you will find they're 100% pro-African, pro-freedom.
And we ain't even saying we ain't about nobody. That's another dynamic I forgot to mention. We ain't even saying we don't want no unity. You know, us representing the lineage don't mean we don't want unity. We as foundational Black Americans, historically, we looked out for everybody to our own detriment. We just saying, you know, do what you got to do and handle your candle, get it right. And, you know, we going to be over here focused on FBA society. You know, folks is having a whole hissy fit about this because they can't exploit us no more because we've codified based off of lineage and we've delineated, you know, and delineation, you know, ain't supposed to be, you know, all inclusive. It's supposed to be, you know, divisive. You know, we got our own lineage and folks got to put some respect on it, whether they like it or not.
Pro-identity, pro-Pan-Africanism. So don't get me confused with yourself because you're cowards and you're afraid to identify as Africans because you...
We ain't no cowards because we don't want to identify as Africans, you know. Africans on a continent don't even call themselves Africans. They call themselves, you know, wherever they from, Nigerian, Ghana, you know, Ghanaian, you know, so we ain't going to be the only ones forced to, you know, pick up some, you know, Africa, you know, at the detriment of our own selves, erasing what we got over here on American soil. If anything, you know, with us doing, you know, advocating for the lineage is powerful. It's us being brave, you know, us charting new ground and breaking through new territory, whereas though Pan-Africanism was stagnating us, you know, being about lineage-based is helping us foundational Black Americans collectively as a whole get our leg up.
You don't want the responsibility to fight for freedom. I'm not a coward. I'm 80 years old.
Okay.
And I've spent 60 plus of those 80 years in a day-to-day constant.
And in 80 years, Professor James Smalls, that, you know, he said majority of that, he was a Pan-Africanist. And all them years, you know, Pan-African hasn't moved the needle in the favor of us foundational Black Americans. It's benefited, you know, people from the continent because they get to come over here, and they had us. We don't do it no more, but we used to, you know, advocate for them, fight their battles for them. You know, we fought for them to even get over here. So it never benefited us. It was about, you know, us being exploited by these other groups of people and them coming over here, getting to piggyback off of our hard work and success. And damn that.
Freedom fight on the part of my people. So cowards, if you want to be critical of our race, if you want to be, and anyone have a right to criticize ourselves and our race, we have a right to do that and try to be appropriate. And so I say to brothers and sisters, if my tone was inappropriate, I apologize to myself and to you for that. But people are not going to use me to support their backwards, ignorance point of views.
Okay.
As regard.
We're gonna pause that right there.
Yeah, but he got a lot of nerve, you know, Professor James Smalls. And I know he's an elder, but damn that, wrong is wrong and right is right. You ain't going to sit up and call foundational Black Americans no coward for representing the lineage when, you know, we've been the bridge for cats to get over here, you know, and we've been exploited, you know, been that group that's been undermined by the same people we trying to help. Damn that, it's a new day and time, and we looking out for people based off of lineage first and foremost. We ain't trying to be divisive, you know, but if cats want to perceive us representing our FBA lineage as divisive, go ahead and, you know, view it. Everybody else got their own lineage. A lineage by nature is divisive. It don't include everybody. So damn that, you know, Pan-Africanism is a dead brand. It's died. It's that hamster in that wheel that's been running around, you know, for many laps, but get nowhere. He's just burning himself out, you know. So we ain't, you know, on that kick no more. It was a strategy, and that strategy is dead. It's gotten us nowhere. And the new strategy, the new game in town is looking out for folks in your own lineage, FBA all day. So I just wanted to touch on that, you know, because he was out of pocket and out of order. You know what I mean? And that kind of, you know, that does get me mad when folks do that, because the mindset of these Pan-Africanists, you know, are to let African and Caribbean people off the hook while trying to condemn foundational Black Americans. And we don't go to nobody's country and homelands and undermine them, get in their business and affairs and, you know, try to stagnate them and talk down on them, because them people will stone our people to death. They couldn't do it, and, you know, we couldn't do it in the same way. You know, we ain't allowing that no more. You know, it's a new day and time, and cats is getting called out, and it ain't cowardice, you know, of us not identifying as we're Africa. We ain't no damn generic Africans. We got the unique history that was forged over here on America's soil, and we ain't gonna let anyone or anything erase that, you know, and we standing on that, you know. So I just wanted to touch on that, and I'm getting ready to get off of here. Thanks for everybody tapping in with me, you know. And if you're new to the channel, family, make sure you like and subscribe, you know, because the algorithm be trying to, you know, stagnate me and suppress the video because I'll be dropping this FBA truth to power. They don't like that, you know. They rather, and I think, you know, something else I meant to touch on. I think Professor James Smalls tried to, you know, flip it and say in another video, they chopped that video so many times I can't find all the clips, but he said something about us being CIA. You know, Africa is CIA if you want to, you know, play that game. You know, us representing the lineage ain't CIA. Pan-Africanism is the CIA because that has historically undermined us, you know. And how could we be CIA lifting up the lineage when, you know, they don't want us to get no damn reparations, you know. That by nature, us advocating for reparations say that we ain't no damn CIA because they don't want us foundational Black Americans to get no reparations, even though we gonna get it, because they know if we collectively, you know, all get reparations as foundational Black Americans, you know, we'll collectively get our leg up, be doing business with one another, and take our money out of their business and institutions and dump it in the FBA society. And then, you know, we're the only group of people that's strong enough to fight the system of racism, white supremacy, and we the only people that ain't coward enough, you know. We the only people that ain't cowards, you know, and we'll stand up to the system of racism, white supremacy. We'll stand up to it, and that'll make the system of racism, white supremacy collapse, you know. So they don't want us to get no damn reparations. So, you know, the Pan-Africanism stuff is the CIA, you know, and that stagnated us for so many years, you know, and erased our history and our uniqueness, you know what I mean? And that's done by design. And a lot of them Pan-Africanism cats, they tied into the Democratic plantation. They push Democratic agendas because, you know, I believe the Pan-Africanists and the Democratic plantation are all in cahoots. You know what I mean? Because the Pan-Africanists, they feel that they benefit off of, the Democrats because it gets more of their people over here. But us foundational Black Americans, we don't benefit off of, all of these damn foreign tethers coming over here, coming into our community, undermining our well-being, bringing elements of crime to the community. So yeah, the Pan-African is, the Pan-Africanism is the CIA, if you really want to play that game, representing lineage business and standing on lineage business. That's bold and powerful, and that sets out a statement, that the white supremacist power structure don't like, because when we do get our reparations, they know that system of racism, white supremacy going to come tumbling down, So I just wanted to touch on that aspect, family. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you like and subscribe, because my videos are oftentimes, they trying to censor me and, not send notifications out. And I want to thank everybody for tapping in with me, but FBA, representing the lineage, that's the new wave, and like I said before in a past video, I liken us FBAs to an uncontrollable freight train in terms of putting on representing for the lineage. And anyone trying to, stop this forward momentum of this FBA freight train, they're going to get moved and ran over and pushed to the side. You know what I mean? Even old ideologies is being pushed to the side that never benefited us. It's about lineage business and standing on it from here on out. So I just want to say peace.